Continuing on, my phone gives me about 8 minutes worth of video and then it's stopping. I don't know what's going on. But I got both sides of the bellow glued down using a screwdriver. I went along the edges here. So now all I have to do is trim off this excess part. And then I'm going to glue these tabs down to the hinged part of the bellow that we first started. So the easiest way for me to cut this paper off is to take a knife and go along this edge. It doesn't look as like it normally was because you had the red paper, but it serves the purpose. And again, I don't do this professionally for a living. I just do it for myself and friends, and they're happy with my work. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the excess paper off now, off camera. Now I got the excess paper cut off, and fold these tabs over and glue them. That's what I'm doing next. Now the tabs are folded over, you want to bend on the end of the bellow, the paper in, and then close the bellow top. And I would suggest putting a clamp on this for a couple hours or so. But as you can see, it is working. It's functioning as designed. You can add new topper paper if you want. I don't have any topper paper. You can make it look prettier, but this thing functions as designed, and that is the most important part, is that it's going to make the noise when the clock is activated. We have one more bellow to do, so I'm going to get started on that. I put a rubber band around this, and that way it stays nice and tight. It will actually help the paper conform to its folds, so when you go to put the clock back in, it'll work better, especially if you're working with the packaging paper from the post office. I tried that before. I talked to a few fellow Cuckoo clock people of how they wash their paper. To me, it was too stiff. I had to add washers to the clock. I never did wash my paper, but the paper was too stiff. I had to add washers to the clock. Remember, I told you if you had too many washers, then the clock can't function properly. And so that's why I bought this material from eBay. It cost me about $20. I've repaired about 10 or 15 clocks so far, and I still got plenty of paper left. But I'm going to try the post office paper sometime. But when you use the post office paper, it's got all this coloring on it. And so if you want to make it look professional for a job, you probably want to buy the actual Tyvek paper. I got the other bellow going. I put the staple back in, the wire. I marked the top of the bellows, that way I can know where the staples do go back in. You can find the holes pretty easily. And like I said, it's a lot easier with the staples and the wires being out than to try to go around them with the bellow material. I will say this, the super glue tends to work really fast. Now, when you put the Bellow paper down after you put super glue and you run your finger over the wood a few times, if the paper is moving around, that's because you didn't prep the wood good enough. You need to take your knife and prep the wood more. Get all the old material, all the old glue off the wood. That way the new material goes down really quick. So anyway, both bellows are done. Like I said, they function as needed. And it's pretty simple to do it the way I did it. Now I took the parts out of the ultrasonic cleaner. I rinsed the material off with water, and this container here has got rubbing alcohol in it, so to help disseminate the water. So now I'm going to take all the parts and put them in this ice cream bucket. And if you watched my videos before, I use this ice cream bucket. It has all kinds of holes, and then the lid has a place so you can put the hair dryer down, and I'll use the hair dryer, shaking the bucket, and dry my parts off that way. It seems to work pretty good. So that's what I'm going to do now. Now the parts are all dry. If you haven't done so already, this is a good time to take a toothpick and clean out all the holes. People who do this professionally for a living will put these gears in a lathe and clean off all the pivots with the whetstone or a file or something. I myself will put these in a drill because I don't have a lathe, and I'll clean up the pivots that way. You can use a Dremel, a drill, whatever it takes, but be careful and don't cut them too much. And this is a good time to be inspecting all the parts with the ratchets. You want to make sure that they turn freely. Uh, if you saw the video where I was repairing my sister's clock that dropped off the wall, one of the ratchets on the strike side did not turn freely. And there's um, little tabs in this that you have to um, that the catches on the regular movements. They're a lot easier to get to, but on this herb movement, you have to take this thing apart to get to them. But you want to inspect the stuff to make sure that they're turned really. And so that's what we're doing now. And we're going to take a toothpick and go through all these holes to make sure that they're nice and clean. But I'm going to go through all the holes and then take my drill and polish up all the pivots. Make sure you inspect all the gears to make sure there's no grime in them. Sometimes the the cleaner, ultrasonic cleaner, doesn't get them that clean. Again, depending on uh, the type of movement that you had, how bad it was to start with. Like I said, you always want to, like you did, like you would do if you owned a dishwasher, you pre-wash all your dishes before you put it in the dishwasher. You pre-wash all your parts before you put in ultrasonic cleaner. Now everything's cleaned up. It's time to start putting the thing back together, and it's done in reverse order. The minute arbor went down, the great wheel for the time side goes down. The second wheel for the time side goes down. The third wheel for the time side goes down, which is the escape wheel. Then the great wheel for the strike side goes down. The great wheel for the strike side goes down. And a lot of this I'm going to have to do off camera. So I'll try to explain everything as I go afterwards. The gray wheel went down, and then the second wheel, and then this piece right here that's actually for the Cuckoo. And then you have the third wheel on the strike side. Remember, the third wheel's got that pin in it. And then you got your fourth wheel or your fan. And so now you want to put the plate back on. And as you put the plate on, you want to try to get some of them to where you can put a couple of nuts on. And then you just barely put the nuts on. And then you work your way around, starting with the great wheels. And once you got the great wheels into the proper holes, you could tighten down the nuts a little bit more. And then I like starting on the time side, working my way up. And as you put the wheels, the great wheel and the second wheel and the third wheel in appropriate holes, the plate will go down farther. You can tighten up the nuts a little bit more, and then you work your way on the strike side. But that's what I'm going to do now.